Hello there guys, what is going on? Daniel Childs back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe on this Tuesday. A lot of stuff around Pochettino as you'd expect, on the verge of becoming Chelsea's next head coach. We've been speaking about that in recent days, why I think it is the best choice out of the potential candidates and what he could bring to Stamford Bridge. Some late reporting around that. Also, the potential backroom staff and how influential they could be in transforming Chelsea in a positive way next season. We will speak about a little bit regarding Brentford, the game tomorrow at Stamford Bridge, because it's easy to forget that Chelsea do still have some games to finish in the Premier League this season, even though a lot of us are kind of just waiting for the summer now. Reece James, Mason Mount, their fitness concerns, and how that does tie back into Pochettino, because I think it is very relevant heading into next season. Then we will speak about the future of Joao Felix and potential of Chelsea looking to sign him permanently in the summer, even the potential of a loan again. And is that a good idea for Chelsea? We will get into that as well. If you are new around here and want to see the latest regarding Chelsea news, the manager search, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads. If you are listening on the podcast feed, thank you so much for tuning in. Son of Chelsea is a part of the 90-minute podcast network. I'm going to start with Matt Law's piece in the Telegraph last night, as reported by several outlets, that Mauricio Pochettino is on the verge of becoming the new Chelsea manager. Barring any late hitches, Pochettino is expected to be appointed as the permanent successor to Graham Potter and will be allowed to bring in at least 4 of his most trusted allies with him. Apparently, he's expected to be joined at Chelsea by his highly respected assistant manager and head of conditioning, Jesus Perez, first team coach Miguel D'Agostino, goalkeeping coach Tony Jimenez, and son Sebastiano, a sports scientist. The first 3 of that 4 have worked with Poch throughout his career at Espanyol, Southampton, Tottenham, and PSG, while Sebastiano was with him at Spurs and in France. Perez is particularly influential in Poch's setup, Matt Law reports, and will work closely with Chelsea's medical department to make sure the squad are in the best possible physical condition. That in itself is huge, and it's something that a lot of people, Seb on Twitter, I'm sure you follow him, a coach, has a lot of good opinions and insight into kind of the inner workings of the game from a coaching tactical point of view, but also stressing, and as many people have, the lack of fitness that has been pointed out recently by Frank Lampard. And you can look at the injury record we've had this season, but also in recent seasons, the lack of intensity at certain points during the campaign. It's something I have noticed a trend, and maybe this is linked to it, of feeling like Chelsea sometimes have started seasons well, but then really dip during the winter and we look lethargic. Poch, as a head coach, as we spoke about on Sunday, that is one of the big things he helped transform at Spurs. You know, a team that wasn't running a lot to one of the most intense teams in the Premier League. And that is going to be a core principle for him. It always has been in his career. And of course, getting that right with the head of conditioning and with Chelsea's medical department too, I think make sure that the team is prepped for that type of football. You know, criticism of Graham Potter is that side of the game, or that side of his coaching maybe wasn't probably looked at when he was at Chelsea, and maybe that was why he encountered so many problems and why players weren't able to fulfill what he wanted to see on the pitch. So I think that's key. And I just want to quickly move over to the story that's come out today based on Frank Lampard's comments in the pre-match press conference before Brentford, that Reece James is out for the rest of the season with a hamstring injury, and Mason Mount could also miss the run-in. Obviously, if Mason Mount does not sign a new contract at Chelsea, we could have seen him play his last game in a Chelsea shirt, which is, of course, is very upsetting, but let's hope that isn't the case. But he did say that Reece James has been ruled out with a hamstring injury, and the Mount injury is, of course, his long-term abdominal issue, which has been a problem for him. You know, Frank did say that he could potentially feature in that final game of the season, but for both of these players, I mean, Reece, kind of a different story. I mean, I do wonder if this is blessing in disguise is probably not the right way to put it, but people who have been watching Reece, and I do agree in recent weeks of thinking, does he need surgery? Does he need that break? And will this allow that to happen before the start of next season? Because Reece is a key player, whoever the head coach is, but particularly for what I assume Pochettino, if he is the new head coach, would want to do with those fullbacks. We need Reece fit and firing, and hopefully he can resolve those issues. And for Mount, hopefully he signs a new contract, which we spoke about in yesterday's show, and he can get back fit before the end of the season. But just speaks to the problems that we've seen. And this has really derailed a lot of coaches in recent years of these key players going out. And it's very difficult to keep that rhythm and keep that chemistry and build any sort of chemistry when you're spending large periods of the season without key players. And can that be something that with a new fitness regime, or, focus on that physical side with Mauricio Pochettino's staff, with Jesus Perez coming in, will that make a difference? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because I think it is something we have to focus on. And maybe when we're speaking about tactics, when we're speaking about players, when we're speaking about positions, it's maybe something we don't really think about that much because it's kind of the unglamorous side of the game. But I think it's absolutely crucial, particularly with a coach like Poch, of what he's gonna try to implement at Chelsea and get working like he has at his previous clubs. The final thing to speak about today is regarding Joao Felix. This is from Nazar Kinsella in the Evening Standard, reporting that Pochettino input is going to be crucial as Chelsea decide the future of Joao Felix. And apparently Chelsea are considering whether or not to move for him again and could opt to extend his loan by another season. Apparently Atletico Madrid have not budged on the £88 million asking price that they initially quoted Chelsea for Felix in January, but that figure will likely only serve as a starting point, and as first revealed by Standard Sport in February, a fee of around £68 million is deemed more viable. I'm not his biggest fan, but as I also said in yesterday's show when I was speaking about Mason Mount, you never want to write off players and say they'll never be good enough. But I just think, given it's a loan, given it felt like a bit of an opportunity in January, I do think it's probably logical to focus our efforts and energy into more permanent players, the likes of Noni Madueke, Mykhailo Mudryk, and also signing up Mason Mount, because I've always felt that those two players are kind of linked in a way of I can't see a situation. I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong that both Mount and Joao Felix could feature at Chelsea. I'm more interested in Mason Mount's future than I am of Joao Felix, and I just don't think he's done enough. And to be fair to people who are defending Felix of what he's done, he's only been here for a short period of time, and it's very difficult to assess that. But that's what it is. That's the reality of the situation. And, I don't see Chelsea as just a vehicle for Joao Felix to revive his career. I don't think that's what we should be interested in. And if it's going to cost that much, and if it's going to cause Chelsea, again, to look at a player for several years, where we're having to have X number of things to make him work. Part of what Poch does so well, and part of what modern football is about, is a player helping the system rather than the system sort of bending to the will of a player. And he doesn't provide enough on the pitch output-wise and decision-making-wise to really make me feel that, Chelsea have to be going in there and making this still happen. If he was highly productive, if it was so abundantly clear that he was a level above everyone else, then we have that conversation. But I just don't think that's been the reality of what's been in front of us. So I just don't think financially, I just don't think in terms of performance, it makes a lot of sense when you've got a player like Christopher Nkunku coming in. If we're thinking about, say, a 4-2-3-1 formation under Mauricio Pochettino, and who would I want behind a striker? Would I want Joao Felix, or would I want Christopher Nkunku potentially playing that role? I'd rather give it to Nkunku because he's a permanent player, but also what he could potentially provide of actually having an end product. And as well with Mason Mount, of what he's done in recent years. So, we are talking about different profiles of players, and it's not like Joao Felix and Mason Mount are exactly the same player. I saw some comments on yesterday's video, but there's only, in terms of positions on the pitch, in terms of where those players are going to play, even if they aren't the same profile player, and even if they don't do the same thing on the pitch, we only have 11 spots, 10 outfield spots for grabs. And to be honest, Mason Mount and Joao Felix are probably taking up the same place in a team usually. So I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. And I feel that there are other players that maybe will suit Pochettino a lot more for what he probably wants to build, and I think as a coach who has proven his ability in taking young players who maybe haven't done so much in their career and developing them into a better player, I think Madueke and Mudryk very much fill sort of that quota for me, and very much go into that kind of level of a player that I think would be interesting projects for him to work with. So I just think, my opinion on this, and hopefully for Joao Felix's sake, I hope in the next few weeks he can have some really good performances, because if that means Chelsea are winning, we're all happy, right? I just want to make this clear, if Joao Felix stays and Pochettino makes him a key part of the team, and we start winning and he becomes a key player and he's banging in goals and he's a key creator for us, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's rubbish. I'm going to be happy, and I don't mind being proven wrong if it means Chelsea are doing well. That's not the important thing. I can only say what I'm seeing on the pitch, and I just don't think it's good enough to invest in, particularly when we've got other players that we could be investing in for the upcoming year. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours if you agree, disagree in the comments below. But that is it for today's show. We will see how quickly this moves, because it is moving pretty quickly. regarding Mauricio Pochettino, and it'd be nice personally for me, because I'm away this weekend, if they could announce it before then, because I won't probably be able to do any videos. So it'd be nice to come on and speak about Poch being announced, but it does look close, and it's the appointment that I think is really exciting. And I definitely suggest, if you are interested, if you want to learn more about Pochettino, there's some books that have been written about him. There's definitely some great articles, great videos. I'll link some below in today's show on YouTube that I've been reading in recent days, just to refresh stuff I've read and watched in the past, because I think it is important if you kind of want to know what Pochettino might be able to bring to Chelsea. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.